Guys, Ray from Apple Valley Astrologer. So even though I've been busting out quite a few theology videos the last, I guess, week, seems like I just did them all yesterday. I might have done a couple. I'm just going to go a little easy. Ooh, that was my shoulder. Ow. Ow. Anyway. So I'm just going to cover something basic, so I don't have to rack my brain as much. Alrighty, so we're going to be discussing the planet Venus in a male's chart. This little mini-series is going to go over the basics, but one step at a time. I'll probably get this one busted out tonight, maybe work on the other one tomorrow if I feel like it. Mars is in Libra now, so I might have a lazy spell. And then I will do a separate video, probably just group some of the signs into threes so I don't have to make so many videos. Just go over briefly all of the signs real quick. Whenever you've heard somebody say that they fell in love with somebody at the first moment they saw them, or they fell in love on the first date, or they even fall in love rather quickly, as some people may have tried to break it to them, a lot of that has to do with lust, and that's what Venus represents in a man's chart. So, if you're looking for some sort of long-lasting compatibility, like a lifelong partnership, lifelong partnerships are associated with the moon sign. So, men are usually the ones out of the two genders that typically weigh the importance of the Venus attributes over the moon attributes. And those are also the guys that typically will date a girl and then end up just going on to the next girl, just bails. That is the kind of men that think that Venus is more important than the fulfillment of the moon. But the moon represents a component of your soul. So for you to have a soul mate, you would need to put the moon as a priority as opposed to your aesthetic superficial preferences. As I was saying, Venus is the superficial desires and it's the wants. So Venus would represent a man's fantasy when looking at a woman that would resemble or project that archetype that is the sign associated with his planet Venus. And the moon in a man's chart, and also in a woman's chart regardless, is the needs and the only potential soulmate bonding that you would get. So that's why typically in your younger years when you are first dating, you initially go after partners that are aesthetically pleasing to the eye for you. And then usually you find out later, unless you happen to get lucky, that you guys were not emotionally or just psychologically compatible. They may have even drove you crazy. Everybody's always got that one ex. And the way it always works is that you have to go and find out what you want by finding out what you don't want. So as you mature, and typically after your first Saturn return, which would be when you turn 30, this planet becomes more of a priority when searching for a partner as opposed to this. For multiple reasons. You start to seek meaning, fulfillment in your life. There is a happy medium. Using that as an example, the Scorpio Venus and the Aries Moon, the elements that don't mesh well together, this is the recipe for infidelity and just any kind of dishonesty or secrets being hidden in a relationship. Also, without getting the partner involved in this scenario, in that kind of situation, Venus would represent metaphysically the mistress and the moon would represent the wife. So if we were to look at relationship dynamics and a male's chart that has a history of having mistresses or having affairs and having the stereotypical mistress and having a wife at home, they would have some sort of conflicting element signs for their Venus and their moon. I want to point out there's always an exception to the rule, and that's why I also hate to list certain attributes in concrete lists for people. Just because somebody has a Scorpio Venus and an Aries moon does not automatically mean that they are set to cheat on you. So if you look at this aspect and you learn from this video from me, and you happen to be dating a guy and you do his chart and he has 2 element signs in these that don't mesh well together, do not jump his shit and start accusing him of cheating on you. It is not always guaranteed that it's going to cause infidelity. This is just the potential. What comes into play with if he's going to cheat on you or not would be look at his ascendant. Does he have an impulsive ascendant? Does he have a emotionally detached ascendant, like an air sign, or even a fire sign for the rising? That would indicate impulsivity, somebody being malicious or just outright an asshole. And then also looking at his Mars too, because even though the Mars in a female's chart would represent the man, in a man's chart, and just looking at a natal chart perspective, Mars has to do with your stamina and your energy, and so, for example, a Capricorn Mars would be a consistent, steady temperament energy, usually would think out thoroughly and practically before they acted out on something, as opposed to if you had somebody with, I guess, Aries Mars would be the easiest one to use in this comparison. An Aries Mars usually flies off the handle, as I also referenced in my Mars and Libra video, and they have that impulsive streak in them too. So they could just see something, pounce on something, and then not even think about the repercussions until well after. And there's where that whole excuse comes into play. It was an accident. I'm not defending them. I'm just explaining what brought them to that situation. They still need to face the consequences for doing that, regardless of what their chart is. Not condone anybody using aspects or placements or planet influences as an excuse for their behavior. Explain why you have those urges or why you have those quirks, characteristics, etc. So every single sign has an enema title. Let's go with that. That sounds better. An enema title for said man in question. Go ahead and just go through the list here, and then I'm going to break down some of the specific characteristics and attributes for each of the signs. Alrighty, so going right down the list here. So Venus in Aries, this is I think it's a fall, by the way, or it might be detriment. So it's not very good. Usually turns the man off when the female is a predatory or masculine kind of character. Usually kind of makes him feel insecure in most cases. So Venus in Taurus is the voluptuous female. So, ooh, wow, I'm erasing that. I guess she's not that voluptuous. But anyway, so this takes on, because it's actually ruled by Venus, it takes on a lot of the stereotypical female characteristics that would be associated with sensual, sexual sort of thing. Not the same kind of sexual that a Scorpio would, but just having all the right curves and... I'm trying to think of a way to say this that won't be too offensive. Like, for example, some mothers of their sons would say, oh, well, she will bear great children. She has the thighs for it, or whatever. That would be that kind of character that it applies to. And rightfully so, Taurus is usually more than capable of having some kids and then some. Okay, so then we move down to Gemini. So Gemini and Venus is the skillful seductress. And I'm not trying to label anybody with any kind of negative stigmas, but Geminis are, out of all the archetypes, known for being the most trifling when it comes to committed relationships. And I just have noticed that personally. I actually was with a Gemini who did the same thing that I've seen other Geminis do to some of friends I know. So yeah, it's a rare breed of Gemini that actually, gets their twins in line and doesn't try to act like they have a double life. That's enough of my rant on that. I'm not going to go into that anymore. Venus in Cancer, this is the mother goddess, so that makes it sound really nice, right? But this is like some, if the man or in question has like a really strong, almost on the borderline unhealthy attachment with his mother, he's gonna go for this. This is basically the mother replacement, because the guy will obviously know that one day his mother's not gonna be there to give him everything anymore and pamper him and treat him like a baby. So he's got to find a substitute, and that's essentially what that archetype means. So then we look at Venus in Leo, the drama queen. I don't even think I need to elaborate anything on that. And if I do, then just go somewhere else. Okay, so Venus in Virgo. So modest maiden. This had two different descriptions, but I didn't like either of them, so I just used the source and changed it up. Because the interesting fact with, I guess, polarity more, even though I think that's kind of funny because the other sign that shares Mercury with Virgo is Gemini, and Gemini is the twin, so they're supposed to be the ones that have two personalities. But in this kind of context, Virgo is the conservative, modest, nun type on the outside, good-going church girl that wouldn't even think to hold a guy's hand on the first date, but then you find out that she has like a huge sex toy collection. She's been in a porno in college. Anyway, so we look at Venus in Libra. So this is another one of those signs, like with Taurus, that is the ruler of the sign. So, of course, the Libra always gets the perfect partner award, even though me being a Libra myself, I think I've been okay. I've had my moments where I've intentionally not been okay with some people I've dated, but I have dated a couple Libras, and I have had a couple friends that have dated a couple Libras. I don't know if it's just maybe the male side of this sign. I would rather cut my arm off than date a Libra man. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, so Venus in Scorpio, the sultry seductress, or you could, depending on other contexts, succubus, too, because they tend to be a little bit sadistic. So, yes, they are known for being the sexy sign of the zodiac, especially since their physiological correlations with the body is the genital area, so kind of obvious there. Can have that kind of aggressive sexual nature that is essentially supposed to be similar to Aries, but it's not, because Aries is more just dominating in general. Like, they have no tact at all. It's just, I'm number one kind of thing. This is more, with Scorpio, it's more of not being number one, but knowing that they have complete control and power over someone, especially in a sexual context, and then being able to demonstrate that they have complete control over you, and you are aware of that. That's Scorpio's favorite thing to do. Then we move down to Venus in Sagittarius, and it's the courtesan, which I don't even understand this reference at all.
That's Spanish for artist.
Like, I see Moulin Rouge, and like the courtesan is like the princess, or
Oh, you're not talking about in Spanish.
I'm guessing so. Whatever is in Moulin Rouge.
Spelled?
Court E San.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is. It's a course on.
Yeah, I think it's some sort of like weird lingo for. You know what? Hold on. Alrighty, I was having one of my error moments. So That's okay, because Boo is just as bad right now. We'll just blame it on the Mars and Libra. Just kidding. Okay, so courtesan is a prostitute. High-end prostitute. So, by the way, I got these keywords from one of my book references, and like I said, I changed some of them if I didn't like them, but this one I just kind of kept because I didn't really have a problem with it, but it didn't dawn on me what it was for a second. I love Moulin Rouge, but it just wasn't clicking. So, they're a high-end prostitute. Well, that would not... We are going to change this. Alright, so I'm going to change the courtesan thing, and we're just going to go... I'm sure any of my Sagittarius friends that may be watching this, that have paid attention this long, because some of them don't have that great of a attention span either, would be laughing right now, because especially my close friends that are Sagittarius, they are the epitome of this archetype, and they are female, so it does fit with what the theme that we're trying to cover here. So, commitment phobe. I don't even think I need to elaborate on that. The only way I could tie that into the courtesan, which is that they are represented by Sagittarius, obviously is represented by Jupiter. Jupiter is a go big, go home kind of mentality. They're the biggest planet in our solar system. They're completely made of gas, so it's more... They're full of hot air. The pun was intentional. You should go, no pun there, but yeah, I did it. I meant it. But anyway, so they are over-exaggerative. They, being a fire sign, they usually go over the top. They're impulsive, that sort of thing. So that's the only correlation I could see with the courtesan kind of thing. That if a guy I guess I'm not trying to be offensive, but I would say dumb enough to blow a bunch of money on her that he doesn't have the capacity to do, and then in retaliation he calls her a courtesan or something like that, or wherever that reference came from. That's not her fault, that's his fault. Honestly, I know that they have a reputation for kind of leading people on, but for at least the ones that I know personally, leading people on is not necessarily what their mission was. They love to have new experiences, including relationships, but then when they start to feel like their freedom might be compromised, they start to freak out and panic and back up, and they run away just as quick as they ran up to you. That's the problem with them. So we'll move on. I'm trying to erase all of them. Venus and Capricorn. So I don't really understand what the Foxy Lady thing is about. I'm kind of lost on all three of these. Hold on, let me check something. Alrighty, after referencing my book that I got this from, because it's just a list, and I was just using them as an introductory statement, I'm going to change this, because that, yeah. I'm just going to do corp. Let's do... Okay, I know this is going completely against progress, but doing the Libra thing, changed my mind. So the commitment phobe one, completely accurate, but I thought of a funnier one because my sense of humor decided to wake up or something today. If I could spell too, that would be great. That's even funnier. I'm sure, I asked my boyfriend if he's seen Runaway Bride, and he looked at me like I'm stupid. So I'm guessing maybe that's a chick flick. I mean, I would assume maybe most men don't watch that, but so I guess it's just a joke for us ladies, which maybe this video would be more geared towards women. I'm not totally sure. I don't know, it's educational for both. Guy can figure out what girl he wants, or what lady he wants, or what lady he doesn't want, or what lady he's going to want, and then the rest of us girls can laugh and talk shit about how they don't like the way I described him. God, I'm such a smart-ass day. Anyway, so then we go down to Venus in Capricorn, and originally that said Foxy Lady, which I don't understand. Then I put corporate mom or corporate corporate woman, and then I just thought that could be taken a lot of ways. And then so I just put conservative lady, and after I put that, I'm like, that totally makes sense. And even though that seems almost the same as the corporate part or simpler, conserve is associated with Saturn. It's one of the attributes, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so that works. I should contact the publisher of that book and have them fix that stuff. Just kidding. It's a good book. By the way, anybody wants to know what book I was referencing, it's nothing spectacular or anything. It's not like I have some amazing cheat sheet or anything. But it's the Astrology Bible. I actually just got it because it was on sale randomly at a bookstore when I just happened to walk in just kill time. And I liked it for its size, because look how small it is. But you know, the most awesome thing about this book is that I actually use this book and can reference this book more often for accurate information than some of my giant books I have here, which I have. You're not gonna be able to see them back there, but yeah. So it's amazing that book is so much smaller, and it's a condensed version of the same information that's in a lot of those books. But I just love this book, and it's especially if you get lost kind of reading a lot. It's essentially outlined in bullet points and graphs and grids than just being. I'm not trying to pick on anyone, but I love books in general, but once when they just start to look like they're fiction novels or something, it just gets overwhelming sometimes, especially when you have too many books and you haven't read them all. But anyway, yeah, so the Astrology Bible by Judy Hall. So it's really cool. It touches base on pretty much everything. Anyway, there was a little side note there. So Wacky Woman. Yeah, I guess that's putting it lightly. I looked at the description. It's a couple words in there. Wacky Woman, it basically says that she's emotionally detached, she's unpredictable, she's hot, then she's cold. I guess, like, they'll move down to the final ones, take forever. Venus and Pisces. So, honestly, I wouldn't really. I just, when I think Pisces, I just think gullible, delusional, no self-control, and feels like basically she has no independent living skills. I'm using like a foster kid terminology. She can't keep track of her time, she can't take care of herself, she can't figure out her own problems, she doesn't even know who to trust. And I think that's what the fantasy princess comes in. Fantasy, first off, because Neptune is anything but reality. So there's where the fantasy part comes in. And the princess, I think we should just change that to damsel, because she is a damsel in distress, and she distresses everybody else in the process of trying to save her ass at the same time, too. So, wow, I was trying to do this without being biased, guys, but I think I'm too much of a smartass today to do this accurately. So, disclaimer, do not take this personally. Do not get upset. If you really feel the need to send me some hate mail, my Facebook page is always available. That's totally cool. But just honestly take this in good humor.